Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to create a to-do and store it in our database. Now previously we created a new route and we called it create to-do and we added this form inside of it. But right now this form doesn't do anything, it's just static. So when you click add to-do, it doesn't do anything with the information and doesn't send it anywhere. So right now we're going to make this dynamic, and what we're going to do is actually we're going to move the previous logic for the new to-do state, and we're going to put it inside of our form. I'm going to import use state, and I'm going to turn back on the onChange event and the value event. And now this is a controlled input because we're explicitly setting the value of the input to our state. Now I'm going to save, and right now the form should track our input. So if I open up the DevTools and inspect this, you can see that the state is right now an empty string. And when I type new, you can see that right now it's actually tracking the state. So I'm going to delete this. And now we're actually going to send the to-do to our JSON server and store it in the database. So how do we go about this? Now, as I showed you previously, we can use the fetch API to get information from our server. We can also use the fetch API to send information to our server. And the way we're going to do this is simply use the same API, but instead of only passing only the URL, we're also going to pass an object that contains the information that we need. So in this case, fetch takes the URL and it takes an object as a second parameter, and this object contains three things that we're going to need. We're going to need the method, which is going to be post, which means we're going to create something. We're going to set a header, and we're going to set the content type as application JSON so that we know that we're working with JSON and the server actually understands that we're sending JSON information. And now we're going to send the actual information, so the data that we're going to create. So this is the to-do object. It's just a body property, and we're going to stringify this. So we're going to use this method. It's called json.stringify. That's going to convert our JavaScript object into a string. Now I'm going to copy this entire function, and I'm going to copy it inside of our component. I'm going to change this to add to do. And now we're actually going to call the function. But right now our function doesn't send the data that we need. So we're going to replace the link. We're going to replace it with the link that's actually in the JSON server documentation. So the way we're going to do this is, like I said previously, you can use the get to get all the to-dos, which we've already done. And now we're going to use post. So all we have to do is just get the original URL, which is /todos. And we're just, instead of sending get, we're going to set post. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to go back and I'm going to copy this link. And this resource is the resource link for our to-dos. And yeah, so we're going to send post. The content type is going to be JSON. And the body is actually going to be the to-do. I'm going to remove this. And right now, when we click the form submit button, this function is going to be called. And what this function is going to do is going to send a post request to this link, and it's going to send the new to do. And as you can see, we've used the async await syntax here. Now this is different than the .then and .catch syntax, but it's just an easier way to deal with promises. So right now, it actually looks like we're typing out normal code that's not promise-based. But this way, it's a much easier way to handle promises in JavaScript. So now we're going to test this. So I'm going to open up our app, and we're going to open up the network tab just to see that the request is actually being sent. So right now I'm going to type learn React, and I'm going to click add to do. Okay, so nothing is happening. Now, why is that? Looks like we just forgot to save, so I'm going to save this file. I'm going to go back, and now I'm going to type learn React. And when I click add to do, you can see it's actually sending a request. But right now it's sending back an error, which is 404. And for some reason, it says that this link doesn't exist. So let's debug this. Looks like it's working. And I'm going to check that our server is running. Looks like to be running. Okay, so I fixed the issue. Turns out the latest version of JSON server has an issue. So when you run the command, just add this at 0.17.4 just to run this specific version, and this version works just fine. So, okay, now that the JSON server is working as expected, we actually need to send the to-do. So right now we're sending a string, but the actual to-do has a different format. So if I open the database, it's actually, you need the ID, text, and completed. Now, in our case, we don't actually need to create the ID, just send the text and the completed, and the ID will be automatically generated. Now, I added the object for the new to-do. We only need to send the text and the completed properties, and the ID will be automatically generated by JSON server. So what we're doing right now, doing a fetch request, the method is post, the content is set to application JSON, and the body is a stringified version of the new to-do object. Now, if we go back to our app, refresh, so new to-do, I'm gonna press enter. You can see a request has been sent and it's successful. It's 201 created. And you can see it actually returned the to-do that was just created. So JSON server automatically returns the object that was created in the database. And now to verify this, if we open our db.json file, you can see we actually have a new to-do that was added, and it has an automatic ID of 5. So JSON server automatically increments the ID by 1. And we can create many more. So learn Angular, gonna press enter. As usual, check the database and a new entry has been created. So you can see how powerful this is. So you can quickly create a local server and database. And now the cool thing is when we close our application and reopen it, we will actually get this exact same information. So the information is persisted on your disk. So you don't actually lose it when you close the computer. And actually, if we go back and we go to the home page, you can see that now we have these 3 new to-dos that were created. And this is all thanks to the Fetch API and JSON server. And like before, as you remember, right now when we create a new to-do and it's created successfully, the input doesn't reset. So we need to reset this manually. And in order to do this, it's actually pretty simple. So we have the fetch call, and after it's finished, all we have to do is just set new to do to an empty string. And right now, if I click add to do, it's created and the input is reset. So it's working like the same as before. And like I said, the data is persisted to the db.json file. Now in my next video, I'm gonna show you how to use navigation in React Router to actually create a link that takes us from this page to the create to do page. So see you in my next video.